Wait, did Jim Jones's own son just drop a courtroom bombshell that's got the whole Dipset legacy shaking like a cheap chandelier in a Bronx bodega? Because what just leaked from inside that courtroom is not only messy, it's nuclear. We're talking betrayal, hidden secrets, and a testimony so raw, even Judge Judy would have choked on her gavel. Camron, yes, Killa Cam himself, is now being accused of something so vile, so personal, it's got the internet screaming in all caps. Jim Jones' son claims Cam didn't just cross a line. He stomped over it in pink mink boots by allegedly taking advantage of his mother. Yes, you heard that right, his mother. And now? The courtroom has turned into a live-action reality show from hell, with tears, gasps, and Camron allegedly storming out like a Love and Hip Hop cast member with a grudge and a mic. But wait, is this a case of manipulation, revenge, or a 20-year-old Dipset secret finally coming to light? Buckle up, because what you're about to hear might just destroy a brotherhood that shaped New York hip-hop forever. The courtroom fell into dead silence the moment he spoke. Jim Jones's son, standing tall with fire in his eyes and pain in his voice, stared straight ahead and said it. Camron used my mom. He was like a brother to my dad, and he betrayed us. You could have heard a pin drop if it weren't for the collective gasp that swept through the courtroom like a shockwave. And no, this wasn't some tabloid speculation or social media rumor. This was live testimony, under oath, with the kind of raw emotion that stops time. Let's rewind, because this isn't just drama. This is Dipset on trial. Legacy in flames, and family secrets being cracked open like vaults. Jim Jones, Harlem royalty. A Dipset general. The man who had the streets chanting, "We fly high," with their heads held high and their chains swinging. But behind the music, the fame, and the leather-laced bravado, something poisonous was brewing. And it didn't come from the streets. It came from home. Camron. The charismatic pink-wearing icon. Loud, proud, unapologetic. But according to what just hit the courtroom, Cam's swagger might have been a cover for something much uglier. Something personal. Something low. See, back in the early 2000s, while the Dipset empire was rising, Cam was spending an unusual amount of time with Jim's family. It wasn't weird at first. After all, they were brothers in arms. But according to the testimony, things started to shift. People around them noticed it. Cam would linger longer at the house. He'd pull Mama Jones to the side, whispers in the kitchen, quiet talks in the hallway. Everyone thought it was innocent, until it wasn't. A former Dipset insider who was always around during the early mixtape days described it like this. Cam knew when to charm and when to control, and he used that on Jim's mom. At first, she thought it was harmless flirting. But then, it got deep. It wasn't just emotional manipulation, it was calculated. Jim's mother was vulnerable. Back then, recovering from a bad breakup, bills piling up, trying to stay strong for her son, and in walked Cam, offering help, comfort, connection. He made her feel seen, important, like she mattered more than just being Jim's mom. But then, according to the testimony, once she gave in, he ghosted her, disappeared, no warning, no explanation. Jim's son didn't hold back. He looked the jury dead in the eyes and said, he treated her like a secret. He used her. And when my dad found out, it crushed him. For years, Dipset fans wondered why Jim and Cam had that sudden split around 2007. No clear reason. Just awkward interviews and solo projects. Some chalked it up to egos. But now, it looks like it was betrayal. Buried betrayal. Jim's son revealed that his father found a letter back then. A handwritten letter from his mother to Cam. And it wasn't just emotional. It was heartbreaking. She thanked him for seeing her, called their moments the happiest in years, and begged for clarity after he suddenly stopped coming around. Jim read that letter in silence. He never brought it up. He buried the pain. But everything changed when his son saw that same letter years later. I knew I had to speak, he said, because the truth was rotting my family from the inside. What's wild is, this wasn't just about emotion. There were receipts, financial ones. Turns out, during the height of Dipset's rise, Cam was giving Jim's mom money. At first, it looked like kindness, support for a struggling single mother. But then questions came up. Why were the payments always in cash? Why did they stop abruptly? And why did they line up perfectly with the time Cam was seen leaving her apartment at night? One former manager close to the situation claimed Jim tried to keep everything quiet. He didn't want this out. Not because he was protecting Cam, but because he was protecting his mother's dignity. He was stuck in a nightmare. His best friend had crossed the line, and his own mother had been emotionally destroyed. The tension inside Dipset only grew. Publicly, they smiled. Privately, they barely spoke. And Cam? He just kept rapping like nothing ever happened. "I used to think he was just cocky," the manager said. "Now I realize he was shameless." There's even footage that resurfaced online showing Cam joking about Jim's mom during a 2006 freestyle. Back then, fans thought it was just a wild punchline. Now? It sounds like a confession hiding in plain sight. And still, after all this, Jim kept quiet. Until now. This trial isn't just about Cam's alleged manipulation. It's about how betrayal can fracture brotherhood. Jim's son made it crystal clear. His father's silence was never weakness. It was love. Love for his mom. Love for the crew he helped build. But even love can only cover up so much pain. The judge listened without blinking. The jurors took notes like it was a murder case. But let's be honest, this was worse than a crime. This was family treason. When Jim's son was asked why he chose to testify now, his voice cracked. Because the world deserves to know why Dipset died. It wasn't business. It wasn't music. It was betrayal. And it started with what Cam did. To my mom. Even Dipset fans watching from outside the courthouse were left speechless. Social media lit up instantly. Dipset drama and Yachern Cam exposed were trending within minutes. Twitter users posted throwback clips of Jim and Cam with captions like, "This didn't age well," and "The pink mink was hiding a dark heart." A Harlem-based journalist even tweeted, "I covered Dipset for years. I always knew there was a secret, but I never thought it would be this." And just when the courtroom thought it had heard everything, Jim's son dropped one more bomb. Cam promised my mom he'd never let her feel alone again. Then he disappeared. Right before my birthday. Gasps. Sobs. Even the court stenographer paused typing. You could feel the decades of silence unraveling in real time. This wasn't just a scandal. It was an emotional demolition of the Dipset myth. And while Cam hasn't publicly responded, insiders say he's already lawyering up. Because what's coming next could turn this betrayal into a full-blown legal war. But what nobody expected, nobody, was who was about to walk through the courtroom doors next. Just as the courtroom was still reeling from Jim's son's explosive testimony, the doors swung open and in walked a figure no one expected. A key witness with information that could blow the whole thing wide open. This wasn't just another Dipset insider, it was someone with direct knowledge of what really went down behind closed doors, someone who had watched the drama unfold from the shadows. Whispers in the hallway hinted at a former close confidant of Camron's, a man who had seen Cam's dark side beyond the public persona. This witness wasted no time dropping more bombshells. According to him, Cam wasn't just involved emotionally. He was playing a dangerous game, manipulating everyone around him, including Jim's family, for years. The source claimed Cam's relationship with Jim's mom wasn't a moment of weakness or a one-time mistake. No, it was a calculated power move. The kind that only the most ruthless in the game pull off when they want to control the narrative and the people. He was always about control, the witness revealed confidentially. If you think Cam's pink mink and wild freestyles were all just fun, you're missing the bigger picture. He played people like chess pieces. Jim's mom was just another pawn. According to this insider, Cam used his charm and fame to isolate Jim's mom from her support system. He convinced her to keep their relationship secret. No friends, no family, no one knew. The promise? That he'd take care of her financially, emotionally, forever. But once he had her isolated, he started pulling away, tightening the emotional noose. Leaked text messages, presented as evidence, painted a disturbing picture. In one, Cam promised to never leave and called her the Queen of Harlem, while in another, he ghosted her for days with no explanation. When she reached out desperately, his responses grew cold and distant, showing a chilling indifference that shocked even the hardest courtroom veterans. Meanwhile, Jim's son revealed the emotional toll this took on his family. His mother's health declined. Sleepless nights and anxiety attacks became the norm. And Jim? He spiraled into silence, drowning his pain in music and distance. It was no wonder the Dipset brotherhood fractured. The emotional betrayal was deeper than anyone realized. But the why? Drama didn't stop there. As if the emotional manipulation wasn't enough, the financial aspect came under a microscope. Court records exposed a series of suspicious transactions. Cam had been sending regular loans to Jim's mom, large sums of cash that didn't quite add up to generosity. An independent financial investigator, brought in by Jim's legal team, found evidence suggesting these payments were linked to Cam trying to cover up a secret business deal gone wrong. According to the investigator, Cam had sunk millions into a failed Harlem nightclub venture, and the cash transfers to Jim's mom were attempts to keep things under wraps, using her as a front. Cam was laundering money through Jim's family, without anyone knowing, the investigator explained. It was a cover-up disguised as support. Social media erupted when leaked screenshots of these transactions hit Twitter. Fans and critics alike were stunned. Dipset's Pink Prince? More like the king of scams, one user tweeted sarcastically. Another posted, "I guess We Fly High was just a cover for flying under the radar." Meanwhile, Cam's camp fired back with their own official statement, filled with vague denials and promises of legal action against false accusations and character assassination. The statement called the entire trial a desperate attempt to smear a legacy. But the public wasn't buying it. The court of social media was merciless with hashtags like Cam lied and Shar Dipset drama trending for days. Memes flooded Instagram, with photoshopped images of Cam running away from a courtroom while clutching stacks of cash. Comedy clubs even featured jokes about the scandal, turning the saga into pop culture fodder overnight. Even Harlem's own politicians couldn't ignore the uproar. A local council member held an emergency press conference condemning the alleged betrayal. "When our community leaders fall, it sends ripples through all of us," she said. "We need transparency, justice, and accountability." But what really had everyone on edge was the mounting legal fallout. Jim's lawyers were not playing around. They filed new motions to subpoena Cam's financial records and phone logs. Rumors swirled that federal agencies were sniffing around, investigating possible money laundering and fraud connected to the nightclub deal. Sources close to the case hinted at an impending criminal probe that could drag Cam through the mud for years to come. And with Jim's son's testimony opening floodgates, it seemed there was no turning back. Meanwhile, the Dipset fan base was divided like never before. Some rallied behind Jim and his family, praising the courage to finally speak up. Others staunchly defended Cam, calling the trial a witch hunt and accusing Jim's camp of drama for clout. The once tight-knit Dipset family was now a battlefield. Amidst the chaos, an anonymous Harlem elder offered a chilling perspective. "This is more than music drama. This is a community's heartbreak. The brothers turned on each other, and the pain is deeper than beats and rhymes." As the trial moved forward, more witnesses came forward with stories of Cam's manipulations. Old friends, former managers, even estranged family members, all painting a picture of a man whose charm masked a dark, controlling nature. The media frenzy intensified. Tabloids ran headlines like Camron's Pink Past Exposed and Dipset Dynasty in Ruins. Late-night talk shows couldn't get enough, turning the scandal into weekly comedy gold. Even reality TV producers circled, hoping to cash in on the drama with exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes specials. But through it all, Jim's family stood firm. They refused to be silenced or swept under the rug. This was their truth, their pain, and their fight for justice. And just when everyone thought the story couldn't get any messier, their next big twist dropped like a bombshell. A shocking piece of evidence surfaced. Video footage, previously undisclosed, that could change everything. It allegedly showed Camron and Jim's mother in a heated confrontation shortly before the payment stopped. The video, obtained by an undercover investigator, revealed tempers flaring, promises broken, and a betrayal so personal it cut to the bone. This footage sent shockwaves through Harlem and beyond. Experts debated its authenticity. Social media exploded with theories and conspiracy theories. Was Cam really the villain painted in the courtroom? Or was there more to the story? The defense argued it was staged. The prosecution claimed it was the smoking gun. And the public? They were hooked. As the trial continued, the question on everyone's lips was no longer just about betrayal. It was about power, loyalty, and the price of fame. How far will someone go to protect their empire? How much damage can one man's actions inflict on a family, a community, a legacy? The answer was becoming painfully clear, a lot more than anyone expected. And as the courtroom drama escalated, so did the stakes. The next chapter promised even more revelations, more twists, and more heartbreak. Because in the world of Dipset, nothing is ever as it seems. The courtroom buzzed like a live wire as the defense team scrambled to contain the damage. Cameron's lawyers pushed back hard, calling the video fabricated, the financial allegations baseless, and the testimony emotional theatrics meant to destroy a legacy built over decades. But no matter how many press releases they issued or how many interviews they gave, the narrative was slipping. The image of the once untouchable Harlem icon was tarnished beyond repair. Legal experts began weighing in, predicting that the evidence might just be enough to force a settlement, or worse, a full-blown criminal trial. When you combine emotional testimony, financial discrepancies, and video evidence, it's a triple threat, one analyst noted on a popular news panel. Camron's defense is going to need more than a pink mink to save him this time. Meanwhile, the public backlash grew louder and more unforgiving. Social media polls showed a dramatic shift in public opinion, with 68% of fans saying they believed the allegations. Influencers and celebrities took sides, some condemning Camron's alleged actions, others expressing support but calling for due process. The feud between loyalists and critics spilled over into comment sections, and heated debates across every platform imaginable. Local businesses that once thrived on the Dipset name started distancing themselves. Merchandise was pulled from stores, event bookings were canceled, and sponsorships evaporated overnight. Harlem's streets, usually buzzing with Dipset energy, seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the dust to settle. The fallout wasn't limited to just the courtroom or social media. Jim's family faced their own challenges: constant media attention, invasive paparazzi, and relentless rumors. Yet they remained steadfast, vowing to see the fight through to the end. "This isn't just about money or fame," Jim's son told a reporter outside the courthouse. "It's about truth, respect, and finally breaking the cycle of silence." The pressure on Camron intensified when more details leaked about his extravagant lifestyle: private jets, luxury cars, and lavish parties, while allegedly neglecting those he was supposed to care for. Sources claimed that Cam's spending habits were unsustainable, leaving him vulnerable financially and legally. The irony? The very empire he built on swagger and street credibility was crumbling under the weight of greed and betrayal. Legal insiders whispered about potential charges. Beyond fraud, things like coercion, emotional abuse, and even witness tampering. The idea that someone so revered in the music world could face such accusations rocked the industry to its core. Record labels, collaborators, and promoters watched nervously, unsure how to navigate the fallout. Adding fuel to the fire, a mysterious leak from the prosecution hinted at even darker secrets: possible ties to illegal activities and a network of silence protecting Camron's interests for years. While these claims remained unproven, they cast a shadow that threatened to engulf the entire Dipset legacy. The trial's emotional climax came when Jim's son delivered a final, heart-wrenching statement. "For years, I looked up to these men, these icons. But what I've learned is that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. My family deserves justice, my mom deserves respect, and I deserve the truth." The courtroom fell silent. Even Camron's most loyal supporters felt the weight of those words. It was a moment that transcended music or fame, A moment of raw human vulnerability that struck a chord with everyone watching. As the judge prepared to adjourn for the day, the question lingered. What next? Would this case reshape Harlem's music scene forever? Could Camron survive this legal and public relations nightmare? Or was this the beginning of the end for a Dipset dynasty? One thing was certain. The scandal had opened a Pandora's box that no one could close. The repercussions would ripple far beyond the courtroom, changing lives, careers, and reputations forever. So what do you think? Was Camron a victim of circumstance or the mastermind behind a web of betrayal? Could Jim's family have done more to protect themselves? And how will this drama reshape the legacy of one of Harlem's most iconic rap groups? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're shocked by the revelations, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest updates as this explosive story continues to unfold. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay tuned, this saga is far from over.